What we have for you today, I'm going to be doing a different type of channeling called mediumship or clear conduit channeling. Some people call it conscious channeling. That means you're awake and basically the being comes through you in response to a question and then continues forth from there. So I thought, after really kind of listening to some of your feedback about channeling and listening to some of your feedback about ascension, spiritual awakening, spirituality as a whole, and the great shift, which is what we're going through currently to grow and expand both physically, mentally, and spiritually, I thought that perhaps we could stand to bring on one of my favorite angelic guides who has a lot to say about those sort of things. And if we talk to Archangel Metatron about these topics, about your spiritual awakening, about humanity's spiritual awakening as a whole, about what you are individually experiencing in ascension, what that looks like for you, what your spiritual awakening is looking like, what this great shift really means for you individually, I could bring him and sort of field your questions to him. So this felt a lot more relevant and personal and needed for what's going on. We do this all the time on my Patreon channel. For those of you who don't know, I have an ever growing, like multiple times a week. I'm there as well, here and there, twice a week here and 3 times a week over there. So if you want more, my Patreon channel is linked in the chat. Please help me grow my channel. Please do subscribe if you're new to me and you like these sort of topics. I would love for you to subscribe and help me grow the channel so that I can continue to get more of these messages out there during these very vital times in the world. But I thought that we would just join together today and just pull our energies together with this beautiful guide of mine, Archangel Metatron. And, with personal readings aside, I will not answer that. I may even delete it. Let's ask questions. Let's start to ask him questions. Okay. For those of you just joining, we are asking Archangel Metatron questions about the Great Shift, about Ascension individually and collectively, Ascension symptoms, what you are personally experiencing, what you're curious about where the world is right now, with Ascension and the Great Shift and spiritual awakening. These are all the topics that you can ask him about. Again, no personal readings today. Okay, let's see what you got. I'm going to pull up your chat. Okay. Hello from Montreal, Danny says. Hello, Danny. Greetings from Western Massachusetts. Hello, Alden. I'm new to this channel, says Priscilla. Thank you so much. Have you subscribed? That would be so helpful to me. The algorithms are so hard, and I'm finding that people aren't getting their notifications, and I want to continue my work, but only if I can reach you. So thank you for liking and subscribing. Greetings from the UK. Hi, Deborah. Hi from Sweden, says Fatma Sadiq. Hello, Sweden. Afia, hello. Okay. Hi, Layla Johansson. Scrolling for a question. Hold on a second. Hi, Catherine from California. Hi, Diana from New Zealand. Oh, that's so fun. Stardust 19 says, wow, I got my Archangel Metatron cards out and I just got this notification. Funny. I love it. You have a question? Okay. The first question is from Sierra. Doesn't she always look like a queen? The angel, you mean? I don't find a lot of personification in angels. I find that how angels show up for me, you want to really know, you want to freak out at the same time. See, the Lilith in me loves freaking you out because it catalyzes you into going beyond what you think about angels. Because I think after the age of Doreen Virtue, I'm showing my age here, that was my time when I noticed angels started getting really popular, but I had never seen them the way she put them on her angel cards. I saw them the more in the way that Stuart Pearce put them on his angel cards. Just saying. I saw them more. Here's how to do it. Someone told me to do this recently, and they said, have you ever gone over to Google and typed in biblically accurate angel and go to images.google.com and type in biblically accurate angel? I did that. And one of the pictures there looked like Metatron. Another picture there looked like Michael. And it kept going and going, and I could identify. It was wonderful. For the first time, I had seen something somewhat and sometimes very close to a similarity with how I see angels. What is the situation in China with COVID? Are you asking in two different? Can you ask that in a different way? Because that feels like you're asking about China's situation with COVID, and that's not what he wants to talk about. Ask it in a different way, Elisa. He would rather talk about China as a whole and other things going on. Okay. Let's see. Questions are moving too fast. Give me a second. Does Archangel Metatron have a symbol that we can meditate on to connect directly with him? This is from Will. Yes. I'm going to do what I love to do. I'm going to pull out my board and I'm going to share with you some of the light code symbols. We have a class coming up next weekend on light codes for Ascension for 2023 if you're interested. That's at PamelaAralyn.com. I'm going to give you one of my favorite Metatronic symbols. Wait, I've got to draw that sideways. It's too big for drawing that in a narrow way. I've got to turn it sideways to have more room. And it's not the flower of life. If you're curious if that's what I'm about to draw, it's not that. I've got a similar symbol, although not exactly. Make sure I get it right. Drawing is not my forte, so you're going to have to give me a second. I want to make sure I get this as close as possible. Okay. Yeah. Yep. You're going to have fun with this, and I will do my best to explain what it means. And then I'll give you a light code. Notice there are various pieces. If you look at this in various ways, whether you look at it this way or this way, that triangle's a little lower than I would like it to be actually on this side. Should be more even. But you get my drift. There's 3, 3. Yeah. We have 3s, 5s, and 7s everywhere. If you really look at this from the geometric perspective in sacred geometry. This is his favorite symbol for those of you who like to screenshot. Okay. Now I'm going to give you some light language for that. Let me just... For those of you who screenshot, when you look at this or work with the symbol that I shared with you earlier, this is the Elohim angelic language for that symbol. Okay, so that's Hu, Eliah, Lam. This is love in Elohim and Lemurian. Hu Elia Lam. When you sing it, you can blend this one together a little bit, which is what I do often with these angelic languages. Over time, I hope to teach you a lot more angelic languages, but this is a specific angelic order, and this is like a call. The Hu is the initial call. This is the order, and of course, we end it with love and light. The L there adds the light. When you add Alm or Alma, that is group or collective. Alm. La Alma, if you add an A, that's more individual for the love and the light from the angels. Versus Lam is the whole of the love, like divine love. Elia is a really group call for the unique order of angels that Metatron, from which he hails, from which it hails. Okay? And this is a symbol. I'll hold them side by side. It's important that with light language that you know what you're saying, that you learn the appropriate language, that you're not just babbling, right? That you actually learn what you're doing. But it combines a lot of kingdoms of God in this one. That's why it looks different than you expect. This is a symbol that you're going to work with to call Archangel Metatron. All right. How to use this symbol to connect with you daily. You focus on it while saying the light language in your mind or out loud. I really love to use it and create a song with it and use it like a chant or a mantra, right? Okay. What will happen in 2024 and 2027 for humanity? You're going to have to break that down because he can talk to you for an hour on that as he has before with me. So NM, I want you to be more specific. Don't give such a broad range or say 2 different years in one sentence, because right now we're ascending so quickly and so powerfully. We're doing a lot of what he calls evolution, and then we devolve in our energies for a while. And then we evolve a little bit more, and then we devolve. And this is something that he says goes on in the different eras of spiritual evolution and ascension, that we've been doing it this way throughout time. So there would be a lot that we could share, but we need you to pinpoint that down or we would be talking a long time, he says. When chat slows down a little bit, I'll answer some questions, but right now it's so give me just a second. The best, well, no. That's really not going to be a question he's going to answer in him about the best time to buy real estate. It's not something that angels are often interested in. Right? But I am. So I'll tell you that as a more prophetic channel, what I'm noticing is now is not a great time. It's particularly not in the US. Just as a prophetic channel, when I look at things about home buying, it's one of the reasons why I'm renting right now, because it's actually a terrible time to buy. We missed the best time, and now we're going to have a little bit of a better time probably around the summer that it's going to pick up, but it's still not even best. The best time for 2023, if you want to buy, would be around July to early August. And it's this short period of real estate, the whole energy of real estate there kind of opens up briefly for people. And it's making, and until then, even getting a loan is getting productively harder in the United States. But we'd have to go through that country by country, which isn't really the purpose of what we're talking about today. So, yeah, exactly. Someone else Krista Marie just said it's a seller's market. Don't do it. Yeah, it's going to be that way. You'll have a brief period of time next year in the US, between July and August, that it would be a much better market. So unless you can really afford some of the horrendous rates that are continuing to rise right now, a lot of my spirit guides who do more of the prophecy, not the angels, but a lot of my other prophetic, like Galactic Council of Nine, follows this, and they're like, just hold your horses, right? Why this person asked an interesting question. She says, why do I feel so drawn to the angels of magnetics? He says, it might be a really good idea for you to understand that certain angelic groups that you have called the angels of magnetics, in that field, these angels stick around with you through very difficult times, and they can make very difficult things calmer for you to accept so that you can resonate more powerfully in your sovereignty. This is why you're drawn towards them. And we as a whole need these angels right now. Everyone is drawn to them right now because sovereignty is something that many people who are going through a spiritual awakening are just beginning to understand. And he says it's important that you connect to your personal sovereignty and to your light and to your power in a way that you're not continually focusing on lack, fear, or disempowerment, or what something else can do for you or to you. That's very important right now. So a lot of humanity is drawn to Metatron so that we don't get off track with focusing too much on our fears of how we're out of control or out of power, right? But the angels of magnetics represent the pull to our power and the return to our remembrance of power. It never left us. Power didn't go anywhere, right? But we're very distracted from it. And we're in a deep belief system that somebody else that, you know, is in more power, allegedly. No one can really be, but it can look that way, he says, in a third dimensional component. In our world, it can look that way, and then we can get easily distracted. So right now, we are all attracted to Metatron and the angels of magnetic resonance so that we can remember our connection to our power and to remember our Christed consciousness, our sovereignty energy that has never left us. That's really important. Yeah. You guys ask amazing questions. Excuse me. Next question from Susan G. Do dreams always have a meaning or message? She asked. She also asked, and I'm wondering if they're just nonsense, if they're ever just nonsense. He says that for the awakening collective of humans right now, dreams mean more than ever. In the past, it would be for the human collective that dreams will be something to clear your mind or help you heal through something karmically, which is sometimes still the case. But more often than not, he says, dreams are there to help you connect in the astral realm. Dreams are there to help you connect beyond the astral realm and into the celestial realms as well. Dreams involve memories of other lifetimes that you need to kind of tap into so that you can heal them. Ancestral healing is the theme of the month for December. So it's interesting you should ask that question because he's saying that dreams are a very big way to tap into those memories and to heal them in both the astral realms and then go into the celestial realms with the angelics to ask them for help and guidance and protection during that process. We're all doing what I call a dump and jump. This is what kind of the Lilith words, it's not Metatron words, but Lilith calls it the dump and jump. So the dump is big ancestral release, pain that we no longer need to carry anymore. We've already healed it, but we're hanging on and doing it and repeating the pain and seeing these cycles of pain, right? So you dump that and then you jump into your new timeline. Dump the pain, jump, the dump and jump into the new timeline. So Metatron likes to talk about the jump part. the quantum leaping, the quantum jumping, the energies that we need to be able to heal through time and dump our pain and then jump into a timeline that's more conducive for our mastery, our sovereignty, and our remembrance of our power. Okay. If you ask me for light symbols from him, he can show them from you. Also, again, next Sunday, we're doing a whole channeling class on light codes and light symbols from the Galactic Council of Nine, and any angelics that want to jump in and share will likely do it, because I don't even have enough time to, typically it takes me 3 hours to get through a class because there's so many of these symbols that work. But right now, give me something more specific. Otherwise, join my class on Sunday to get the more specific ones. I don't want to do the general one because I just gave one of the most powerful general ones for light codes from Metatron. Let's see. Sarah says, "Dear Metatron, is awakening different for autistic people? And is there anything general here, or is it always specific to the individual?" He said that's such a loaded question, because autistic people, and he says, and you're using that phrase to help kind of give you a definition towards something that is undefinable. It's not containable. But what many people who operate in this field are doing with autism is they're recognizing that spiritual awakening can be something outside of anyone else's labels. So for autistic people, when you go up and you say spirituality looks like this, ascension looks like that, awakening looks like this, and shouldn't look like that, that is too limited for the autistic mind, because autistic people are more intelligent spiritually and emotionally than the majority of humanity. So what that looks like for you is going to be individual. However, you're going to be noticing more of what it doesn't look like, and it'll be incomparable for you. For autistic people, like spiritual awakening will be incomparable to what the rest of the world is saying it is. And what he wants you to know is to not get confused, not feel disempowered if the way that it's working for you doesn't really look like what everyone else is saying that it should look like. For you, it will be very internal. And these words, the energy of the vocabulary that people are using, the metrics to it and the energy fields to it, and that creates a grid of energy that almost will contain an autistic person to awakening in a certain way that would really feel constricted and uncomfortable and confusing, he says. So for the majority of what your awakening looks like, if you're experiencing autism, and more of you are, he says, you're really going to have to tap into vibration, vibrational healing, vibrational medicine. Everything to do with vibration is the autistic person's way. But it won't be something that can be defined easily by another person unless they too have experience or understand or are autistic. Do you see what I mean? Hopefully that helps. Oh, Peter asked the powerful question that he just, like, as fast as the chat is moving, like, I can't even stop looking at this question. He says, is there a light code to help unravel the real truth of every moment? Of every moment. He says, do you know that one of the reasons why time is still your master and time is still your God is because you want it to be the same and different at the same time? So when it comes to that, you want change, and you want your free will and your free agency to be honored. You want the capacity to change your mind. And now, Ascension as a whole has shifted to be both collective and individual. In a certain sense, we still have collective karma that we're working through. And if we didn't have it, we wouldn't. This is how we want everything to look the same. He says, if we didn't have it, we would feel lost when every message looks different. Every way to ascend looks different for each person. Every truth looks different for each person. We have to have some similarity. And that's why we have creative karma as a collective still. We have it. There's a lot that we're working through. We're making it better for ourselves, right? But we have about 50% of awakening people wanting that to be so individual that we have not hundreds, not thousands, not millions, not billions, but trillions of different ways to ascend. Trillions of different ways. Do you really want that? Ascension would look like a trillion piece of jigsaw puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle. And in the light of how we want the capacity to change our minds and to operate in our free will of what the angels call destiny. Destiny is your free will. You have the capacity to step in as intelligent awakening beings and change that at any moment, and you call that truth. You do that via the grace of truth. Grace is an energy technology, he says. When you recognize and you're not afraid of the word technology anymore, and you don't think it's AI, then you can understand the language of angels, and you can understand more about how angels view ascension and ask for their help. So when you're working in destiny, you want everything to be your way and you want to change it, right? Like a toddler who's scared of a routine, he says. That's how humanity is right now. We need more routine. We need more grounded. We need more safety and structure and security. And at the same time, we're shaking our fists and going, but what about my truth? And then we shift our individual destiny, which is fine. That helps us remember our power. But here's the other side of it. Fate is the collective energy of what we're all creating together, right? And if we didn't have it, there would be too many people shaking their fists and crying about their truths, right? So rephrase your request to him about truth, and he will give you a light code, because he doesn't want to confuse the way that humanity is headed in both the right for their individual truth and the need for a collective truth that we are all creating together. There is a middle way. There is a middle ground between both of those concepts that will bring us to yet another place in ascension and in this great shift. Do you understand? Yeah. And I will keep an eye on you, and I'll see if you've rephrased it for me. I don't see it yet. So the reason why I'm taking so long is there are so many questions, and some people are repeating their questions, which I don't suggest copying and pasting, because then I just sit here and I don't answer questions until the chat calms down. If you've asked one question, just let it be. I know there's like 400 people right here, but I just need one. And I'm patient. I can wait with you and enjoy your energy all day. I love you. You're awesome. I'll keep saying that. You are spectacular. This new group of beings coming in right now, the children you're having, your conscious parenting, parents especially are impressing me right now. Okay, good. Is there a light code which can protect us in any harmful elementals? Elementals aren't harmful, he says. Curses are mental, so you would be working in the mental field of the energy, right? A person who believes in a curse has altered their own capacity for sovereignty and empowerment. So you need a sovereignty and empowerment code. He's going to give you one. Oh, I need the whole page again. I can't do that vertically. Hold on. some of the things he tells me to draw when I'm not an artist is just like, come on, I'm not an artist. Well, that's just complicated. I'll go with it. Okay. I've been seeing this one in my dreams lately, and I've never had a chance to actually draw it out before. This one is about breaking a collective grid system. So that collective grid is what you call the matrix. Okay. So this is the best way that I can draw it for you in my minute drawing skills. This is a release of energy from your mental field. This, please just imagine that it's a diamond, this in the center. Yeah, go ahead and just use your imagination. This is a grid of disempowerment that you're placing when you believe in a curse or when someone tells you that you have one and it triggers something in the mental capacity, in that mental field, when it triggers you, okay, it builds this grid system that's similar to a spider web, right? So put a diamond on top of it and then use the energy of silver to move through. Imagine this is just coming out both directions from your energy field. Start in the head, go down to the throat chakra, go down to the heart chakra, go down to the solar plexus chakra, then the sacral chakra, then the root chakra. And you are going to let silver energy be coming out of each side. This diamond here is just right on top, right in the center. Okay, this is the light code. It's really different. I've only been working with this one for a year. That's just this year. And oftentimes this feels like a spider web, like over my brain or over my chakra systems. And then Metatron comes in and places this diamond here in the center. And then suddenly from that diamond, all the silver energy comes out into my field and opens up my auric field. From the mental field to the astral field, it bleeds out of my aura in this way that pushes out any energies of curses or negative programming. So it works for many things, curses, negative programming, and you can imagine this silver energy kind of pushing everything out that doesn't belong. So sometimes when I see this little rush of energy starting and going out the sides of my mental and astral field energetically around the body, I see little like dots, little black dots going out, black dots of different belief systems and fears, etc. You know, there's another version of this that's for implant removal, which we're going to talk about this Sunday for that class. Just go to PamelaAralyn.com. So Patreons, I'll take pictures of all these and we'll put these up later for you. Whew. How to help someone with mental illness and psychosis. How committed are you to love? He asked. Now, he says, this is what a person who struggles with mental illness has said to their soul group. They have said they are committed to love. They have said that, and they have known that this is what it would look like for them. And they sat there, with their spirit team, with their ancestors, prior to coming into this incarnation, and they said something very specific to their angelic team and their ancestors. Do you want to know what people say before they come into to this lifetime when they choose mental illness? They say, I am committed to love at all costs. Bring on whatever I must experience to bring up the depth of who I am and the places where I've hidden it within me. They've said, bring up every obstacle that must be dissolved by the light of the grace of perfect love. And that is what they said. So he said, now that you know that this is how it shows up for them, are you so quick to help them by perceiving that that's not meant to be, or that they should be different, or that they should be healthier? The only thing they shouldn't be doing is harming themselves or another being. But even that is subjective in Dharma. Even that is subjective in the greater love that our restricted, limited minds judge. Okay? Because in our minds, we say that no harm, no harm, no harm. We hear that in Buddhism. We hear that everywhere. But when a soul comes down and says, I'm going to harm myself so that I can learn about the laws of the universe and how to love more. When a soul says, I'm going to harm another soul, because that's what we've contracted and how we express love and how we learn. In our human mind, we think we want to play God. We think we want to know what's best for them, he says. Right? So this is just something to kind of ponder when you're in a deep space, not when your mind is saying, well, this is wrong and that's the end. This is right and that's the end. That thinking will limit you. If you want to think outside of the very limited human mind, you must connect to the angels. You must ask them to see the greater sovereignty in how we learn with painful karma, how we return to our sovereignty thereafter, what love is remembered along the way. We can't learn that while we're trying to play God and then calling that helping them, helping the person. We're playing God, he says. Playing God. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I didn't even see your question, part 1. That's going to be, hold on, here it is. Question part 1. I struggle with mental illness. I don't know how to handle it anymore. I beat drug addiction fueled by mental illness, and now I struggle with taking my meds since I feel awake. Meds or not. An angel can't tell you that. Only a doctor can. And there's a lot of limits in the psychological health system. There's a lot of pros and cons, particularly when you're feeling like very unsafe for yourself, right? There's pros for medications and there's a lot of cons as well. So when we put things in the realm of, oh my gosh, all the different problems and fears that we have come up when we limit ourselves by saying, I should be taking meds or I shouldn't be taking meds, right? Because when you say I shouldn't, your brain will go, oh no, big pharma, it's poison, it's going to hurt me, it's going to cause this, I'm never going to feel the same, right? Sometimes when you say you should, you have those same fears. So anytime you place mental illness in the box of meds or not, you're starting from a baseline of fear. So he wants you to ask yourself that question from a less limited perspective to answer that in part one. Okay. Yeah, it's a loaded question. And it's just, there's so many things, in a certain sense, the problem is with mental illness that by the time it really comes to light that we truly need some help with it, it's far gone. It's far gone. And people who are anti-meds say never meds, never meds, never meds. And then before you know it, someone has killed themselves. Do we really want to wait to that point to decide whether or not to use a tool that could prevent a death? Right? There's that. And then there's the whole, how come no one has discovered vibrational medicine and considered it even? There's that. Metatron's favorite tool for mental illness is vibrational medicine. But by the time we get to the point of saying, I'm struggling with addiction, I'm struggling wanting to hurt myself, I can't get through another day, sometimes a med is a temporary measure, right? It's a temporary measure. And we struggle just to get to square one, to the place where we can even kind of let ourselves use a vibrational medicine or a plant medicine or a natural medicine, right? There are many answers to this question. And because I'm live in front of almost 500 people, I have to tell you I'm not a doctor before YouTube cancels me. Cancel culture is fun, right? I'm not licensed to treat or even give you any of this information, but the information I'm giving you is intuitive. It's not medical. I'm not a practitioner. I can't tell you what to do with your body or your mind, but Metatron can tell you that you know your body and mind more than anyone else, including me and including him. You've missed the power of that vibrational medicine, the vibrational medicine of sound, the vibrational medicine of that's homeopathic, the plant medicines, particularly Ayurveda and Chinese medicines. There's so many tools at your disclosure. There's so many sacred symbols to help calm down the mind and the body if people would just stop and breathe. And this is what you can call in Metatron for, is just to stop and breathe and say, which one of these vibrational medicines do I need right now before something horrendous happens? Right? Why do we need to get to that point? We can use vibrational medicine and plant medicines and homeopathic medicines as and breathing pranayama is an incredible way to tap in to our true selves. So we can have this as a big tool belt, he says. All of this is a big tool belt so that we don't get to the point of saying meds or no meds. If that's our only answer, it's almost too far gone. Like, why do we get to that point? Right? It gets to that point where it's just really, that's tough. That's tough. So try to back up a bit. Use some of the things that we use today, particularly this one. Use some of the codes that I've been giving you, because if we can just start out that way and focusing on the breath, the mind's going to try to tell you that it's not going to work, but the mind is often wrong. It's been evidenced a lot that the mind is often wrong, right? Yeah. A code for epilepsy? Sure. Learning Kriya is the best thing you can do for epilepsy, and I like the Yogananda Kriyas. Those are some of my absolute favorite pranayama Kriyas. Let me try to get you a Metatronic symbol for that you can use. So the way that he's describing epilepsy is the energy moves from the base of the kundalini and it rises upwards. That's why you'll notice that in epilepsy, there are a lot of energy patterns where you'll notice a lot of shaking and shifting in the energies from the base of the stomach to the hands and the arms and the neck and then the head. It doesn't tend to start as if energy is going down. It's that your kundalini energy is rising and then releasing from the crown. And when that happens, we need to put a cap on it and reverse the energy and pull in light from the crown, okay, back down the spine. We can pull in light and ground through the chakras all the way down through the root chakra. So epileptic people need a grounding symbol. All right. So in this way, we use silver light to go down. So if you can imagine when you're using symbols for an epileptic person, and this works for seizures as well, is to pull energy down your chakras and let it flood like a silver trickle of silver plasma light flooding down in little dots of energy everywhere, right? All the way back down into earth from the crown chakra up here. So that, oh man, I gotta get some water here in a second. That is mostly a light practice, not a light code, but a light practice. So as you're doing that, you're going to chant Hu to remind yourself of your sovereignty. And this is for epilepsy and seizures. Okay. Someone else is asking for a light code for ADD. Okay. He says ADD is a component where a person shifts their energy in all directions and they've become programmed that is more effective to allow themselves to be distracted and to shift their energy outward in many directions. So unlike ADHD, where you're not focused at all, okay, in ADD, you have a focus, but it goes in this direction and then it stops, and then it goes in that direction and then it stops, and it goes in that direction and it stops. You have energy coming out of you and ideas coming out of you and thoughts coming out of you, but they're partial. They're not fully fulfilled energy patterns or completions of a thought process. So you have like this shower of energy going in all directions, but everything is incomplete. And it just stops and it only goes so far. And then you go back to square one in your thought systems and chakra systems and go, okay, I know I was meaning to communicate this. I know I was meaning to set forth a task to start here and then go there. And but what you do is for every thought stream, you have one thought stream. Okay. Here's you and here's your thought stream. And you'll have a thought stream and it stops here. And then you pull two thought streams. They are also incomplete. And because you're just trying to get back to that original thought stream and energy field, this is a crown chakra deficiency, by the way, then you'll put two or three more from there, but they are incomplete as well. And then what you do is in order to get back to here, you start connecting the dots. And this is why you're a genius. So why stop it? You start connecting the dots and you go back and you connect all those dots and you start like forming a web of consciousness with all of your incomplete thoughts just in order to return back to your original thought stream. Does that make sense? So what you need to do instead of trying to amplify the fact that you can think about 1,000 different things at once, instead of trying to, de-amplify that, instead of trying to cut that off, we need to actually amplify it further so that each thought is like a long yoga breath, like a long stream of thoughts. So as opposed to your thoughts looking like branch offs and then dots of reconnection, then your thoughts are going to look like if you stop right? You will just simply return and form like an arc of energy, and then you'll start again. And if you stop, you return and form an arc of energy, and then you start again. So then it feels a little bit more like expansion, because even though you're 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 4 steps forward, 3 steps back, because you're still trying to connect and remember, you are building and building and building and amplifying. Do you see what I'm saying? I know that's a bit of a complicated explanation, but that's the true nature energetically of ADD. So as opposed to trying to make it stop, we need to breathe in a way that follows the thought patterns and then lets them start again. So, you know how when you're coughing and you can't really feel complete in the breath until you keep coughing, and for some reason, even if you stop, if you haven't fully coughed up that phlegm or whatever, you just kind of like still feel that same cough going. When you look at thought streams, it's all the same consciousness that it started from. It's similar to a cough that needs to come out of you in ADHD. So breathe like this. When your thinking starts to do that splitting, think of one stream of energy wherever you are, just stop. Think of one stream of energy and breathe. And every time that thought tries to change, you will do the same Kriya that Metatron gave me for coughing. Do you want to know what that looks like? Since your thoughts are going do, 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 you can breathe like that. Notice I'm not, I'm breathing. Teeth together. These are Kriyas. Yeah, that's Metatronic Kriya for ADHD. I'm not breathing in between. So you have to meter and measure your breath, and then your thoughts will follow along your breath. Thoughts control your breath. So then also we'll stop coughing. Notice I'm not coughing anymore. The ADHD pattern is similar to someone with asthma. They can't really breathe out. They can't really think outwardly without stopping themselves. So we're not trying to stop that. We're trying to let it go how it's going, but amplify it and amplify it. Every time we're breathing, we're pushing a longer stream of thought process and breath out of us. Do you see? What about the difference from ADHD and ADD? ADHD is not the capacity to split your thoughts and not remember your original thought process. ADHD is the opposite. In ADHD, you have a focus and it's on hyperdrive. So you can have a thought and you have a stream of consciousness starting from your thought process, and it's amplifying, and it goes out and you form another one, and it kind of just gets bigger. The thought just gets bigger, and you start thinking about, like, oh my goodness. And you do this not like consciously. You do it before you've even thought about it. You will take one stream of consciousness, one thought, and you will split it into typically 3 different patterns, sometimes more, but at least 2 or 3 different patterns. And you haven't connected the dots yet, but you can't stop. Right? You haven't, unlike ADHD, where you retract yourself and then you catch yourself and you're like, oh yeah, this is where I was going. ADHD doesn't do that. It'll just go ahead and create like 3 more. Right? And it's hyper focused. And the ADHD person is actually a channel. They don't know what's coming out of them. They don't know that all these dots of the splitting thought processes will eventually be connected. They just know that it connects and they don't know why. So they can, in the matter of one long run on sentence, talk about, 3, 6, 9 different things. And then it'll click to them that connected. And then they'll go, oh, yeah, anyway, what I was originally trying to say, and then they'll backtrack to the original thought and they'll take all these things and explain it to you about why they all connect together. If you don't squirrel them. If you squirrel them, they'll take one of these and go somewhere way over here and split off and form a whole other thing and then they forget about that if they get squirrely. So for ADHD, we're going to have to, as opposed to amplifying thoughts, we're going to have to calm them down. We're going to have to center. Okay, so we're going to use the mu, which is a combination of hu and ah and all of these different things, ma, everything's in there when you use the mu tone. And we're going to say that and just generally focus on our breath. Okay, you don't need anything to focus on. You're just going to say that in your mind, right? And you're going to try to not think for a little while. That's it. And if thoughts go away, you're just going to keep saying that in your mind. Sing it, say it. I like to sing it in my mind. I'll just sing moo, right? So we'll take a couple more and then we're going to call it a day. And then I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Patreon. So you've got your polls up right now and you've got some fascinating things that you're thinking about wanting to do in December. So make sure that you vote on those. Hold on. Is there a book on this topic? Maybe one day there will be. Right now, I'm teaching you things that I make sure that, number one, work. I've been doing these things for myself and students and other people in my programs for 24 years. But number two, they're not out there in a book, which is giving me a lot of work to do. Yeah. But they work. Oh, this is interesting. This person says, please address the kundalini conundrum. To activate it with all of its dangers, or to keep being dumb, deaf, and blind, meaning keep kundalini dormant. What helps with awakening? He says you've really boxed yourself into either being fully awake and fully on fire, fully opening up all of the kingdoms of God and chakra systems without any awareness, knowledge, or control, or being, as you've called it, deaf, dumb, and blind. There are easier ways. Leave Kundalini alone. Kundalini awakenings are meant to happen naturally on their own accord. So there really is no conundrum. It's just humans trying to force it. We have safer ways to awaken, he says. We do. We have safer ways to awaken. Crystal, I don't know what that word means. Like, that's completely out of my filter. I don't know what it means. What is aphantasia? Is it a fear of something? Sorry, my cat's making unusual noises. Okay. What is keeping me from fully channeling is the next question from R. Taylor. He says, your will needs to be joined with that of creators. And that seems like a really simple thing to say, but it's loaded. It really is. When your will is joined with that of creators, the mind doesn't get any previews on anything. So here are two things that channels do that block themselves from fully channeling, he says. So in one way, there's the natural channel, the channel who is already channeling all the time. I awakened that way, where I just started talking and singing things and saying things that were the angels coming through me. And I thought, well, this is just coming through my ecosystem because I've been around angels. I didn't really call it channeling. I felt like I was just repeating what they were saying. But then channeling took a whole new life form. And this is happening a lot in this great shift in the way that people are awakening and channeling right now. They're starting to recognize that the angels are jumping on through. They're jumping on in you, and they're just saying things that you don't even get a chance to filter. You don't get a chance to think about if that's accurate for someone, if that's right for someone, if that's even ethical for someone. You don't get the chance. The ego doesn't get the chance to come in and say, what did you just say? And who told you that? And where did that come from? You don't get the chance to do that. And that's when channeling is most powerful, he says. Okay? Yeah. That's when channeling is most powerful. Now, here's the caveat. You've been taught that you need to see pictures in your mind. You've been taught that you need to get a vision of something outside of yourself or internally in clear cognizance, get a clear knowing and a clear download of a picture or an image. Some of you have been taught in psychic schools and in spiritual development programs that you need to remote view before you channel, that you need to see something, that you need to be clairaudient, that you need to hear something in here and then repeat it. That's not channeling, that's mediumship, right? That's mediumship. So when true channeling occurs for a natural channel, it just comes on through. It just comes on through. And it's hard for me as a natural channel in particular, because when someone's eyes are closed, when you're trancing, you know they're channeling. When their eyes are opening, both the channel and the rest of the world says, what is channeling and what is the ego? What is your biggest question? But if you want to channel natural channels, you got to stop doing that. You know, I've got people coming into my YouTube all the time going, well, who is this? Who's channeling through? Or is that you just teaching? It's always someone channeling through. But because you don't know that in your world, you've been taught that channeling looks like a certain thing. And it looks like someone closing their eyes and going into a deep trance. Or it looks like they're saying deep, profound things all the time, right? Things that you're not able to understand, right? You've been taught that channeling should feel a certain way in your body. You've been taught so many things in modern spiritual awakening classes and programs that are anti-channeling. And most of you are natural channels, and most of you are doing it anyway. So the only thing you need to do is ask for the grace of fortitude to keep yourself strong, ask for the grace of discernment to really trust what's coming through and then to utilize it afterwards. Ask for the grace of allowance. These are angel technologies. When I say grace, it is an energy technology that the angels have taught me to channel more effectively and to be a happier human, a more content human. So when you use the graces to channel, you can channel more clearly because you're more aware of the energy technologies that the angels are running through you. And then you feel a certain way in your body. Then you trust discernment going on in your mind. Then you ADHD channels, you can connect all the many dots and talk about a zillion different things and one thing at the same time. You're intelligent beings, and this can work for you if you use the graces that the angels are giving you, right? And then you will understand that at some point in time, when you are effectively tapping into the graces in all moments, well, guess what? The ego's somewhere in the back burner. The ego isn't dead. The ego hasn't gone away. The ego hasn't died. It's not a death of your ego. It's in the background going, aha, look at what you're doing there, which is kind of what it's doing all the time, right? Yeah. So there are many different ways to become an effective channel. Many different ways. But the clearest way you can do it is by asking to learn the graces, asking for a download of one of the graces that are applicable to you. Okay. I got a whole class on this, a healer's class, 4 channels that I did, like, I think just last week on Patreon. So that's linked above, that link to find the training for healers, training in the graces for healers. And we talked about 7 different graces that we can use both for healing and channeling. And these were taught to me from the ascended masters and angels. And I'm no different than you. I get distracted from, all of those sort of things. But the graces are what always keep me clear. And when you're working with that, you're going to become a clear channel. All right. Thanks for spending time with me today. Okay. Please, please, please subscribe. It helps me grow the channel. I appreciate you so much. And I will see you again here on this channel on Wednesday. I'm not sure of the time. I put in 6 p.m., but I might do it much earlier than that. All right. I'll see you soon. This was fun. I got to go take care of my family because it's Sunday. I'd love to stay with you. I really would, but I'm going to go. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for spending time with me and letting me share these messages from Metatron and all the other angels who are popping in and out. I'll see you soon. Bye.